Apologies for that. It's time to do business again. We have 25 minutes, this time about 25 minutes, to go around the world of business. And here's what we've prepared for you. In Nigeria, a lot of attention is being given to the crypto community. We'll have a conversation with them today. Ethiopia is spending a whole lot to defend its currency, but it seems not responding. And in Zimbabwe, there's a new push for mining. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start from our oil space. Prices rose today in lack of progress in diplomatic efforts to resolve the Middle East conflicts, though the absence of major supply outages is limiting gains. And so for this time, we see that Brent has gone up. Well, this morning it was at $91. It's still around there, even though it's gone up about 0.63%. It's $91.62, and WTI has gone up almost 1%. At 0.81 there. The price is $85.63, and closely related to that, we see what's happening with natural gas, 0.9% up at $2.80. And well, the Strait of Hormuz carried about 1/5 of global oil and liquefied natural gas supplies before the US-Israeli war on Iran began at the end of February. Its disruption remains central, the central concern at this time to energy markets. And talking about the Strait of Hormuz, let's see what's happening. This was taken at about 12 o'clock today. And so let's see what has happened there today. In the last 24 hours, only three ships have been able to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That's like less than 1% of the normal traffic that would have happened there. Tanker spot rate is at 320. That's about 540 versus pre-crisis. It's dropped 540% when you compare it to what used to happen there normally before February 28. Vessels waiting, just waiting to go through the strait is 250. None arrived today. None of them arrived today. So it seems even the waiting, that is facing a lot of discouragement. And so tankers are not even waiting. And you would notice that it's the bulk carriers that are waiting. That's products that are supposed to be consumed in countries to boost economic activities. So we see that the 250 vessels waiting, all of them bulk carriers to go through. War risk is extreme. War risk premium is 7.5%, normal rate with 0.155%. There's been an increase of more than 50 times of that. Talking about insurance there, that's being considered 7.5%, and then the increase is about 50 times normal what it would have been. Talking about insurance cost. In this case, daily throughput here is 1.5% of normal. In the red, you would notice that it's in the red right there, 150. And peace talks and diplomacy was in progress 4 days ago. However, that window closed and there was no renegotiation, no direct US-Iran talks underway. Shipping routes are still threatened, and Iran and Oman have agreed on coordinates. Remember, Iran and Oman have been having some talks, coordinates for proposed safe shipping routes through the Strait. Of course, the United States is not happy about this, and they've sounded a threat. We haven't heard updates on that, but we see Trump threaten Oman with military action if it interferes with deal negotiations, complicating diplomatic talks. And Iran maintains that it will not reopen the Strait until U.S. lifts blockades and end sanction releases frozen assets. So the world is in not a good place at this time, unfortunately, and this is where we are for all of us in this world. And in Kenya, Acting Chief Executive Officer George Kamal of Kenya Airways is saying that during a briefing, he's talking about the impact of this on them. He said that fuel costs now accounts for up to 50% of the airline's total operating cost. And he said that delayed aircraft parts, reduced aircraft availability, rising global inflation, all of this have been feeding into airlines' revenue, cutting that. And according to him, global shortages of aircraft supplies were affecting several airlines, but Kenya Airways was particularly impacted because of its relatively small fleet. It said that they have demand and every route that they have deployed is full, but there's the need for aircraft as soon as possible. Mr. Kamal also said that the airline is awaiting delivery of 2 Boeing 737 aircraft and adds that 2 other aircraft scheduled for delivery in April were rejected after failing inspection tests. We'll go to the metal space now. Gold rebounded today. US dollar weakened and global bonds, that has eased. We told you about that in the morning. So we see, unlike what we had yesterday, which was all green, today it's a mixture of colors for metals. Spot gold is green, 0.12%. $4,425.90. Spot silver is on the flip side, about 0.5% down, $63.70. Platinum is up 0.64%, $1,744.20. Palladium is 0.22% in the green, $1,296.50. Copper goes the other way, $6.42 for a pound. That's for dollar. For the copper, it lost 1.13%. Now we go to Zimbabwe, where the newly appointed Mining Affairs Board says that its major task is to accelerate mineral exploration and promote value addition and beneficiation. The 12-member board recently met Mines and Mining Development Minister Kambamura to discuss measures aimed at ensuring the country derives greater economic value from its mineral resources. And prominent miner and women in mining advocate Blessing Uhungwe sits at the new board and says that the country needed to intensify mineral exploration to establish the quality and value of its resources. And not looking very good for Ethiopia. That country is burning through billions of dollars in a frantic and so far unsuccessful bid to stem the sell-off in its currency. The central bank has spent about $2.2 billion this year to defend the tumbling birr. Last week's intervention drawing bids for 4 times the amount on offer, but with Ethiopia's economy under increasing strain from high oil prices, it hasn't been enough to stem the currency's downward spiral growth, and that, unfortunately, is a reality there. In South Africa, annual inflation eased more than expected in July, strengthening the case for the Reserve Bank to keep interest rates unchanged as it monitors the economic fallout from the Iran war. Consumer prices we see went up, but we have a correspondent, Innocent Semusa, put something together for us on this.
Positive news for the South African economy because inflation has come down more than expected from 5% in June to 4.3% in July. What this tells us now is that the pressure on the cost of living is starting to ease. Prices are still going up, but they are increasing at a slower pace than they were a month ago. For ordinary South Africans, this could provide some relief, particularly if these trends continue. It also, strengthens the argument for the Reserve Bank to keep the rates unchanged. With inflation coming down, there's less pressure on the bank to really increase borrowing costs. But we do know that that's important for the households that are already dealing with high loans and debt repayments, as well as the businesses that needs to borrow money to invest and grow. We understand again that for the broader economy, stable interest rates could also help support consumer spending and, of course, businesses' activity. This also could give businesses more confidence to make investment decisions, but also the Reserve Bank is unlikely to, become too comfortable just yet. There are also still risks that persist, particularly from the Iran war, the issues around the oil prices, the oil prices and movements in the rand. Any significant increase in fuel and transport costs could really put renewed pressure on inflation. So while the July figures are really encouraging, the key question now is whether this decline in inflation can be sustainable in the months ahead. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Simosa, Channels Television News.
Yeah, thanks, Innocent. And of course, that's the question. Even when you see the numbers going down, the question is that sustainable when we see the reality of what's going on at geopolitical space feeding into every domestic economy? And of course, South Africa has been affected. Let's head to the markets now and see that it's still a negative sentiment at intraday, unfortunately. So it's red for the NGX, and the top losers intraday, we see EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, that has lost 10%. Fortis Global Insurance, almost 10%, 9.8%. And those top stocks by volume is Fortis Global, Fidelity. Remember, we had Fidelity also as a top trade, profit-taking happening there. Oh, that was earlier today. So it started off in the red, and it's still there. Consolidated Hallmark in Holdings is also red. So that is why we have this red color for the NGX. Johannesburg has recovered 0.33% in the green at intraday. For Egypt, it's even lower than what you have in Nigeria, 1.40%, and Nairobi closed yesterday positive. Moving to the Middle East, Middle Eastern stocks market, the mixed at intraday, pressured by cautious global sentiment, fluctuating regional energy prices, and geopolitical tensions affecting the shipping lanes in the Gulf. Remember, we did see the activity in the Gulf, in the Strait of Hormuz in the last an hour or so. So Dubai is down 0.28%. Abu Dhabi is also down 0.91%. That's really high. Tadawul seems to be the only one that has a green color at intraday, 0.06% in the green, while Qatar is down 0.76%. Moving over to the United States, and it's almost undecided, a flat line in the futures market in the United States. We see the Dow green, the S&P green, but the tech guys have not been able to make that green color. We see Oracle lost 2% after Wall Street Journal reported that OpenAI disclosed second quarter result that was disappointing to investors. So Oracle fits into that. Alphabet also down in early trade with chip makers, Marvel Technology, and Intel. And then Moderna also is down. Shares popped more than 60% after all of that. So the technical guys for the US are the ones in the negative. And then in Asia, we see the market is closed there. It's mixed for them. Nikkei and Kospi in the red, and then Shanghai also in the red. Nifty 50 in the red. I think it's only Hang Seng that's able to make it in the green, 0.09% at this time. Let's go to Europe now, where we're joined by Chip under Chimbelu to give us the numbers from the European markets. Hey, Chip, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. What's the color today?
European shares have been muted and they've been hovering around a 2-week low. So what we are seeing is that the Pan-European Stock 600 is flat and the DAX is down 0.1%. And that is because oil prices remain elevated because of tensions in the Middle East. And that is, of course, raising questions over inflation and growth. And investors, of course, will be looking to the U.S. Federal Reserve's July meeting minutes, which will be released later today. And that will, of course, provide them them with some clues on the outlook for interest rates. Now, here in Europe, in terms of macroeconomic news, we have had a confirmation from the EU statistics agency Eurostat. It confirmed its preliminary inflation figure from July, which showed that Eurozone inflation rose last month. So inflation rose 2.9% in July from 2.8% in June. And that is, of course, above the ECB's target inflation of 2%, Ini.
Yeah, and US tech giant Apple, they're making some changes in their App Store. What's that about?
Well, any developers in the EU will enjoy better terms when offering their products on Apple's App Store. And that is what the US tech giant announced on Tuesday evening. It is making those changes after consultations with the European Commission. And the main one is that Apple will be getting rid of the so-called technology fee, which is a charge for developers under some terms here in the EU. That will be replaced by a 5% commission. And the tech giant will also be slashing the commission it gets for App Store purchases in the EU. Now, those new rules will take effect on October 1st. There's been a bit of back and forth between the tech giant and Brussels over the EU's Digital Markets Act. Now, Apple was fined 500 million euros for not complying with the DMA, and Brussels was threatening additional fines. So this change does bring Apple more in line with the EU's competition rules, which aim to level the playing field between big tech and other players.
Yeah, we know the EU doesn't joke with protecting consumers on the block. But what has Brussels said about this?
Well, of course, this is welcome news for Brussels. A European Commission spokesperson did say that Brussels does welcome the changes to Apple's terms and conditions, and they attributed that to an intensive dialogue between the Commission and the tech firms. And of course, negotiations between Apple and the EU actually are not quite done. And that's because the EU could impose a fine for a past violation of its rules, and that could still be up to 10% of a company's global annual revenue. So Apple isn't off the hook just yet. But it is the timing of this announcement, which is also a major deal, because, of course, the Trump administration has been critical of the EU's tech regulation. It does say the bloc's tech regulation unfairly targets U.S. tech giants. And in fact, last month, President Trump did threaten the EU with a tariff probe over the bloc's fines targeting U.S. tech giants. Now, for the European Commission, this is, of course, a very big win, because it shows that Brussels can get a U.S. tech giant to adapt its business model to adhere to its rules. And of course, the effects could reverberate beyond Europe, because of course, regulators in other regions are watching, and they could point to what Apple is doing here and demand changes there too.
Correct. I mean, the good thing is you guys are well protected with EU always looking out for you, Chief. But thank you so much for giving us update on that.
Thanks, Ini.
Let's head straight to the crypto space. And today I have two gentlemen there. That's odd, unusual when it comes to crypto conversation. But I have the pleasure of hosting two gentlemen right here. Rume Ofi, we know more virtually. You're always up there for joining us virtually. And all the way from the United States, we have Nova joining us. So both gentlemen just organized the Decentralized Nigeria event. You are the convener, you are the co-convener, yes. So Nigeria collaborating with the United States. Yeah. But let me start from you. You know, Rume, we always talk to you. So what have you observed when it comes to cryptocurrency? Nigeria, the President Bola Tinubu, gave an executive order, I think about a month ago or less, yeah? Right. And a lot of things have been happening. What have you observed in the crypto space and the crypto community in Nigeria? That's you, Nova.
Oh, what have I observed?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. So I think it's beautiful what's taking place in Nigeria, that there are progressions made in the crypto space when it comes to regulation, because it gives us an idea of focus on where exactly companies can operate. The more companies can understand how, in this regulatory aspect, can see how they move or where they can move to actually position themselves within the Nigerian market, the more comfortable they can become in trying to communicate with the international market. But it's important that we get that right here in Nigeria. We have to see what's happening in Dubai. We have to see what's happening in the UK, in the United States, in South America. Once we have a good understanding, a lens of what's happening in Nigeria, it's easy to see how we can communicate and make sure that we shake hands with the rest of the world when it comes to the crypto market.
Yeah, and it does look even in the U.S., the conversation is still on about regulation. I know the lawmakers, the Senate are supposed to have something about some crypto rules, you know, and all of that. So it seems everybody's still making progress, learning, and trying to make changes that will be convenient and easily adopted by players in the community.
Yeah, so the United States is moving along when it comes to the regulatory aspect. It's dragging its feet because the government is trying to figure out how to treat crypto in terms of how it faces the fiat world, the traditional finance world. So it's getting a little antsy. You know, we had Brian Armstrong from Coinbase mention that there were some issues as far as what were the details in the regulatory bill. But I believe we will get there. Even if we don't get exactly what we want in the United States, there's always room to improve. That's why I say it's always, I was at the New York Tech Week, and I was at the consulate of Argentina, and I said to the crowd and to the speakers, it's important that we get our regulation straight within our own countries, but we have to see how do we talk to each other so we can keep those doors open. So maybe that will affect how we shape our regulatory, how should I say, space in the United States. We have to talk to each other.
Because, nobody is, what's that word, on its own. Everybody has to, at the end of the day, especially when you're talking about digital assets, it's just one global world.
Correct. Like we'll work out real world assets, and that's one aspect of the crypto market. But how do we talk to each other if someone from the United States wanted to be a fractional owner of a bit of real estate in Paris or Nigeria or Australia? It's great that we shape it here, but we have to shape it around the world where that can have a cross-pollination of understanding. That's why it's so important that we get it right in Nigeria, because Nigeria is a huge market when it comes to the African continent.
Yeah, and Rumi, I know you have been so excited, meeting, having conversations like this all through the event and all of that. What would you say pops out when you interact with, you know, individuals who are also active in the crypto community in other countries? What pops out? What do you take out of that, and how do you intend to use it?
So for me, it's usually more like, if you are here, you almost think like we're not making progress. But when you see someone that comes all the way from the United States here and saying that we're making progress, in fact, even more than the US at some point, it makes me feel like, man, we're not doing badly. You know, so it gives that conviction, and that's why we're doing what we're doing at Decentralized Nigeria, to make sure we bring the rest of the world to see the uniqueness that we have here in Nigeria, so they can also tap into our young population, our opportunities, because the past years, people leave Nigeria, leave Lagos to other parts of the world to attend conferences, spend a huge amount of money, but we're bringing it to Nigeria, Lagos, so that all of these things have their value here. They come see the uniqueness that we have and tap from that opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess it's really important that I like the fact that you use the word uniqueness.
Yes.
So we do not just want to tailor our regulation and operation maybe based on the United States, because we do have our own uniqueness, as you said.
Yes.
But does this erase the fear? You know, some time ago when we talked how perhaps some investors are leaving Nigeria for even neighboring countries in Africa because of maybe lack of certainty or friendly regulations.
Yes.
You know, is that fear off now?
So the fear is really going down now, because the presidency is taking crypto seriously. But as a community, I play a very huge role in the community right here in Nigeria. We're looking at a situation whereby it's friendly ecosystem partnership between the stakeholders and government. So we have that synergy. It is that synergy that is going to solidify the framework, that is going to send a message to someone in New York, someone in Argentina, someone in Paris, and some other countries, to make sure that, they are safe with because the truth is that they need to have that confidence that their funds are going to be safe, their business are going to be safe. And
their taxes should not be too much.
Exactly, exactly. So all of that works together, a friendly ecosystem where you don't tax the people to death. It's a new ecosystem, so you take it one step at a time. And the meeting is coming very soon, I think on the 20th with the Nigerian Revenue Service, so that we can harmonize all of that and see this is what is good, so that you don't over-regulate and get people running again.
And the CBN governor seems to be friendly with you people,
Yeah, they don't used to like us before.
He's heading... No, because the banks never used to like, I don't know if they have liked it now.
They have to like us.
You
because
can't have
the CBN
transactions and indicate that it's a cryptocurrency transaction.
Now the CBN has now the CBN has a crypto office. So,
I mean, the banks have no choice.
Exactly.
If their regulator has accepted cryptocurrency, yeah?
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Okay, good to have
just
you.
To double tap, I just wanted to say that also it's important that it's decentralized is for Nigeria, but also going to other places like Kenya and South Africa and Senegal, where we can bridge that gap as far as the language, regulation, and how we move.
Yeah. So we're not just on our own, we're also connecting. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Nova Phoenix Cook, convener, Decentralized Nigeria, and Rume Ofi, convener, Decentralized Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, we just have to draw the curtains here on Business Incorporated for today. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We'll do it again tomorrow, but do remember you can always watch our program every time and any time at all on our YouTube channel. I'm John McQuarrie. See you tonight for the Stock Market Report.